Okay, quick question. Why do you exist? Not in the deep, cosmic, why is there something instead of nothing way? I mean, literally, mechanically. Why are you, specifically, sitting here right now watching a video about cavemen? The answer is dumb and a little terrifying, because somewhere around 100,000 years ago, two people looked at each other across a smoky fire and thought, yeah, them, I choose them. That's it. That's the whole chain. If even one of your ancestors had picked a different mate, they just looked away at the wrong moment, you would not be here. If they got distracted by a guy with a slightly better spear, or a woman with slightly more impressive berry-gathering skills, someone else would be sitting here instead of you. Someone slightly different, with a slightly different nose, watching a slightly different YouTube video. You are the end result of thousands of years of unbroken, romantic decision-making. Every breakup avoided. Every awkward first date that somehow worked out. Every single ancestor who didn't get eaten by a leopard before they had kids. Love, in the most unromantic sense possible, is a survival mechanism with good lighting. And here's the thing. A leopard really did not care whether your ancestors found love or not. But here's what should actually keep you up at night. Ancient humans didn't have flowers. They didn't have Spotify playlists or candlelit dinners. They didn't have the ability to text you up. They had basically nothing. No safety, no comfort, constant danger. A small wilted flower, a musical note, a candle. None of it existed. Romance had to be invented from scratch. No phones, no messages. No way to reach someone across a distance. Just fire and footsteps. And a life expectancy that hovered somewhere around yikes, surrounded by danger on every single side. So how, in a world that was actively trying to kill them every single day, did humans find the time, the energy, and the emotional bandwidth to fall in love? Let's set the scene. A wide, empty, dangerous-looking prehistoric landscape. Rolling hills, one lonely tree, and pretty much everything out there wanted to eat you. You're a human, roughly 200,000 years ago. You have no claws, no fangs, no fur thick enough to matter. You run slower than basically everything that wants to eat you. Like, embarrassingly slower. A weak, pale human standing next to a lion, both flexing, and the human's muscle is just a tiny sad bump. So how did a species this physically pathetic survive? The answer is pair bonding. Two individuals forming a long-term, emotionally and practically connected relationship. And here's why it mattered more for humans than almost any other animal on Earth. Our babies are useless. A newborn baby just lying there like a sad burrito, doing absolutely nothing useful whatsoever. A baby zebra can stand and run within minutes of being born. A human baby can't even lift its own head for months. Why? Because of something called neoteny. Humans are born unfinished because our brains are too big to fully develop inside the womb. If a human baby's brain finished developing before birth, the head would simply be too large to fit through the birth canal. So nature made a compromise. The head exits small. The brain finishes cooking on the outside, which takes years. So you get a tiny, helpless creature that grows slowly, like a baby, then a toddler, then a child, all needing constant care. A round baby head surrounded by construction cones, because this brain is genuinely still under construction. A human infant requires constant care for years before it can even feed itself. Sun rises, moon rises, and that baby still needs you. One exhausted parent juggling a baby, a spear, a fire, and a saber-toothed tiger, all at the same time, alone. Impossible. Women who had a partner sticking around, helping gather food, defend the camp, share the load, had children who survived far more often. So love might not have started as a feeling. It started as a desperate, practical, I cannot do this alone. I need someone, reliable, committed. A caveman holding up a blank piece of paper. His only qualification, good at not leaving. And that, right there, is the quiet foundation that every single love story in human history has been built on top of. But individual pairs weren't enough on their own. The real solution wasn't romantic. It was communal. Not romance novels, groups. A circle of cave people holding hands around a fire. Not a love story, a survival strategy. Early humans lived in small bands, usually 20 to 50 people, where childcare, food, and protection were all shared together. Anthropologists call this alloparenting, multiple people, not just the biological parents, all helping to raise a single child together, a baby being passed hand to hand through a whole line of aunties, uncles, cousins, and strangers, like the world's most precious hot potato. Grandmothers, aunts, older siblings, unrelated tribe members, everyone pitched in to feed, carry, and protect the little ones. This gave rise to a theory called the grandmother hypothesis. Older women who could no longer have children became the most valuable members of the group, a grandma flexing while babies orbit around her like she's the sun. Because honestly, she kind of was. Love, in early human society, was never a private, two-person bubble. It was a web, a network, a whole community tangled together. Falling for someone meant your entire tribe was now quietly invested in whether your kid made it through winter. And pair bonding created alliances, not just between two people, but between entire family groups on either side. Two tribes about to clash, spears raised, tension high. Then one person steps forward and holds up a baby, and everyone just stops. Weapons lower. Someone awkwardly waves. Because what do you do with that? Love, basically, was humanity's original peace treaty, the thing that stopped strangers from killing each other. And your brain was quietly engineering all of this the entire time through a chemical called oxytocin, the so-called cuddle hormone. It's the same chemical a mother's brain releases when she breastfeeds her baby, building deep, instinctive trust and attachment. A cartoon brain in a party hat, throwing confetti labeled oxytocin, because your brain genuinely celebrates when it tricks you. Evolution hijacked that same parent-child bonding chemical and applied it to romantic partners. Your brain uses the same trick twice. Falling in love, neurologically, is your brain wiring you to a near stranger using the exact same circuits it uses to keep you devoted to a screaming infant. Okay, you wanted weird. Let's get weird. Fact 1. Co-sleeping wasn't optional. It was survival. Nobody slept alone, nobody. Entire families, parents, children, sometimes a semi-domesticated wolf, all piled together in one sleeping heap, because body heat was literally life-saving on cold nights. Snowflakes outside, warmth inside the pile. Separation meant death. There was no date night, no personal space. Intimacy and survival were completely the same activity. Fact 2. Pre-mastication was an act of love. A parent sitting with a baby in their lap, food in hand, about to do something modern, people find very gross. Mothers, and sometimes fathers, would chew food into a soft paste and then hand it directly to their toothless infants. Disgusting by today's standards, but it literally kept babies alive long enough to grow their first tooth. Fact 3. Grooming was basically ancient flirting. Two people sitting close, one carefully tending to the other's hair. Long before words, physical touch built trust between potential partners. Hearts floating, bugs flying, both equally part of the deal. A long grooming session by the fire was the Pleistocene equivalent of holding hands on a couch for the first time. Fact 4. Jealousy may have literally reshaped human biology. One partner watching another across the fire, arms crossed, brow furrowed, suspicious. Humans have a strange biological quirk: concealed ovulation. Women show no obvious external sign of fertility, no signal, no clear window, which meant men couldn't just guard a mate during a short fertile period and leave. They had to stay, all the time, committed, constant closeness, constant partnership, walking together, living together, bonded by biological mystery. A caveman holding open a blank rulebook, completely empty, no instructions, just stay close. And so love and biology fused together. The heart and the spear and the fire all orbiting around the same simple truth. Bonding kept people alive. So here we are, tens of thousands of years later. A modern bedroom, a window, a very different world. A person lying in bed, phone glowing above their face, swiping through options. More choices than any human in history has ever had. We gained so much. Medicine, hospitals, mothers and babies surviving things that would have been death sentences for 99% of human history. Single parents standing strong, supported by systems, safety nets, structures, our ancestors, could never have imagined. Group chats instead of campfire circles, memes instead of grooming, you up instead of a hand on a shoulder in the dark, heaters instead of body heat, weighted blankets instead of a pile of people. The option, for the first time in human history, to just be completely alone. One tiny person, one enormous empty bed, one vast apartment. Silence where there used to be a tribe. Ancient love was witnessed. An entire community standing around, invested, watching, caring whether it worked. Now 2 phones glow next to each other on a table, both lit, both connected, both somehow completely alone. No backup plan, no emergency room for the heart. Just one person standing in an empty landscape, arms open to nothing. They huddled together, small, scared, surrounded by darkness, because the darkness was real and enormous, and they were tiny inside it. What they had was each other, every single day. Real, physical, inconvenient, unoptimized, every day of your life closeness. 2 figures by a dying fire, leaning in, saying nothing, just watching the embers together. They didn't have technology. They had each other. And honestly, maybe that's the part worth stealing back.